Hey everybody, how you doing? Sit down and relax, because it's time for your Prepp Talk. Morning, everybody. It's morning for me. It's probably not going to be morning when you watch this video, but it's pretty early here. So much still going on. How are you this fine Tuesday, November 14th? A lot has happened in the last week. We have a lot to talk about today. Hopefully you've been staying informed, and hopefully you have been doing what you can to keep up with what's going on. And I also hope that you were able last week to put a few things aside, put a few things back. I canned 10 pounds of corn this week. I've got 10 more pounds to can. Now, I want to talk to you about that. You don't have to be a home canner to get prepared and put away food, okay? My family prefers home canned food. We just do. We just prefer it. We'll eat canned food, and I do buy canned food, tin canned food. I do all the time. But when we can, we like to home can our food. We can taste the tin because we're so used to home canned food. And listen, you can go to Aldi's, you can go to Big Lots, you can go to Savers. There's so many of these warehouse type stores that you can go and get, cans of corn, cans of vegetables for sometimes as low as 50 cents a piece. And don't forget these damaged freight places as well. Don't forget that. Just watch the dents and things like that in the can. And so many times canned food will expire. The Best Buy will expire. Honey, that canned food is good for years, okay? So, as long as it's not damaged, whenever it is dented or damaged, have I used dented food before? Yes, absolutely. But you don't want to store dented food. Now, if you're going to buy some dented cans for 25 cents a piece and use them next week, go for it. I've done it 100 times. But when you want to store food for a long period of time, you take a risk of failure of that can when it's dented over time. So when I say, don't buy dented cans, I don't mean for everyday use. Hell, buy the dented can. I do all the time. I do it all the time. It's even funner to buy the unlabeled cans. Anyway, let's get to it. What we're going to talk about today is, what's going on? What are our now we know about the Palestine business that's going. We know about Ukraine. And unfortunately, we're probably going to know about Taiwan soon. So, let's just talk about immediate things that are going to affect us right now. Let's see what I have on my desktop. All right. So the first thing I want to bring up on the desktop is food prices. Now, we all know that food prices are at an all-time high. In fact, the cost of groceries is going to continue to go up. The index for food at home is at a 2.4% higher over year from August to September. Restaurant patrons are still paying 6% more for food than they did a year ago. Post-pandemic, food services have become limited. Labor costs have become higher. People are demanding to get paid. God forbid that. And I'm sorry. I'm going to say it. If you're going to eat out, then you're going to pay the price because that person deserves a living wage. Don't eat out. Stay home, make your own damn food. That person deserves a living wage. So if you are going to go and have someone cook your meal and serve it to you, then you're going to pay for it. That's my opinion. Droughts and wildfires are also some of the causes. The fires, I think things are still on fire. Floods as well. We had some pretty bad floods too. So all of that has gone into our rising food costs. Retail beef prices in the U.S. are at record highs, pushing up prices of beef-based products from burgers and steaks and steak tartare. Who the hell eats steak tartare? I don't eat steak tartare. Largely thanks to shrinking cattle supply, as well as higher input costs, market watchers told CNBC, and they don't expect it to ease anytime soon. It's definitely not. It's going to just continue to get worse. So meat is something that you're going to want to start stocking up where you can. I have so far canned about 20 pounds of ground pork, and I've got 20 or 30 pounds of ground beef canned. So that has made it shelf stable. And here's the thing. The freezer's fine. But we're going to get to, in a minute, of why it's not going to be fine if our power grid goes down. You're going to lose all that meat. So you're going to want to make as much of your food shelf stable as you can. Now, I have recently been trying out canned meat at Walmart. Canned roast beef lately is what we've been trying. It's about $3.13, I think, can, about that high. It made enough. We like hot beefs. So it made enough for 2 hot beefs, which is a lot. So grab a can. Every time you go to the store, just grab a can. Throw it away. If you like Spam, we like Spam. I do, and my son does. Grab a can of Spam. Okay? Put it away. There's also other choices in meat. You can get all kinds of choices of canned meat. Some are good, some are not. Canned hams, all of that. You can home can, again, like I said, your ground meats. You can home can a roast. You can home can stew, ready to go, with the meat in it. All of it's shelf stable. All of it's going to be good for a few years. I home canned, as an experiment once, whole chicken pieces. I'd bought one of those big 10-pound bags of legs and the quarters. Cut them up, separated the legs and the thighs, and raw packed them and canned them on the bone, whole pieces. And a year or so later, I started using them, and they tasted like I just cooked them yesterday. Okay? Get what your family's going to eat. Okay? If it's hamburger, then get the hamburger put away. You may have to learn how to home can meat, because it is going to be cheaper. But meat's going to be an issue, as you can see here. Cattle herds in the U.S. have been reduced to their smallest number in decades as a result of prolonged drought in key cattle ranching states like Texas and Kansas. We are suffering here in Missouri from horrible drought conditions. Retail beef prices in the U.S. are at record highs, pushing up prices of beef-based products such as burgers and steaks. What else do they have to say? As cattlemen retain cows to rebuild the herd, there is much lower supply. See, that's what's happening. They're not selling the cattle because they are beefing up their herds. They lost a lot. You remember, what was it? Was it last summer that the cows were dropping dead in Texas? Does anybody remember that? Horrible, horrible, horrible. Food is going to continue. We're going to be dealing with supply chain issues as these wars, which we're going to get into that. As these wars progress, we are going to get into supply chain issues. Okay? Especially once this China shit goes down. That's when our real supply chain issues are going to happen. Okay? Because we just have handed them the rope from which to hang us. Use what you learned, okay? Use what you learned during the pandemic and stock up on that toilet paper. Here's the thing. Okay, so what is it? The big packs of, what do I buy? Angel Soft toilet paper, okay? There are 6 double rolls in a package. And that will last my family 2 weeks. However, I buy one every week. And on that off week, I throw it up into where I'm storing them. Okay? Do you see what I'm doing? It's already budgeted. It's already something I buy. Could I save money and not buy it that week? Yes. But I'm not trying to save money right now. Okay, saving money right now is not what I'm trying to do. That's not my goal. My goal is to get stocked up. So toilet paper, meat, like we just talked, bread. You know, I'm a bread baker, so we're never going to go out of bread. I've got 100 or more pounds of flour downstairs. Yeast might be an issue. You can stock up on yeast. You can freeze yeast. It will extend its life, but not forever. So you know what? Do some research. If you're a bread maker, do some research into sourdoughs. My family doesn't care for sourdough. I love it. I was raised on it. But my family doesn't care for sourdough, but maybe yours will. And that's a great alternative to yeast. Otherwise, research ways to how to produce yeast, because there's lots of many ways to harvest wild yeast that is already in the air floating around, okay? The latest CPI data shows the biggest price change from August to September, seasonally adjusted. Frankfurters, hot dogs went up 6.8%. You know the apocalypse is on the way when hot dogs get expensive. I mean, for real, y'all. Egg prices just rose slightly. They're at 0.9%. They went down. But remember, they were crazy due to that avian flu there for a minute. Current egg prices are now back to where they were in 2022. And I'm telling you, I don't have chickens anymore. Now, I am going to buy meat chickens in February, this spring. And I will keep them. I think you keep them 16 weeks or something before you butcher. But I don't keep chickens for eggs anymore because I did the numbers. And they can't run free because of the dogs around here. The unleashed running dogs running around, okay? I have lost more than one flock of chickens to somebody's dog. So they can't run, okay? So I have to feed them. And because of the cost of feed, I did the numbers and I was paying $7 for a dozen of eggs. And that made no sense to me. So we quit keeping chickens. But again, I will buy meat chicks, specifically to butcher, and I'll feed them for that long and be done with it. So, consider that if you can. Consider that. Let's see. Eggs are down 14%. Pork, and that is roast steaks and ribs. Pork is down 4%. And these are September 23 prices, okay? Oranges are down. Butter is down. Lettuce is down. Cheese and related products are down. But has anyone noticed that the produce is horrible? It looks horrible? My lettuce, I buy heads of lettuce and it's already got brown on it. It's ridiculous. Juice and drinks is up 21%. Frozen vegetables are up 11%. Beef steaks are up 9%. White bread is up 7%. Beef and veal up 7%. Crackers and bread are up 6.9%. So, there you have it. Now, some of that is going to be related to the time of the year, especially when you get into your produce. But the breads and things like that, that's what I'm talking about. Bread's going to be a hard thing to store, which is why you need to learn how to make it. It's not hard to do. It's not hard to do at all. You can make bread. Because like I said, that's not something you can store long term, okay? Gas is up 59.9%. Food in general is up 16.4%, and rent is up 5.6%. This is a 40-year high, and that was in June. We were at a 40-year high, driven by those gas prices. Now, gas recently this month has gone down a little bit. At least it has in my area, but not everywhere. There are people still paying 5 something a gallon. So, it's bananas. It's just bananas. Here's what I want to talk to you about: keeping your stuff in the freezer. Now, this article was just released a few days ago, November 9th. America's power grid at a risk of buckling this winter. Okay? Much of the U.S. power grid is at an increased risk of failure during major storms or prolonged cold snaps this winter, a top energy regulator warned last Wednesday. The North American Electric Reliability Corporation, or NERC, said that much of the central and eastern U.S. is at elevated risks of power failure. Now, these risks affect every region east of the Rocky Mountains except for the southeast and upstate New York. While the regulator said grids can handle normal winter loads, any prolonged wide area cold snap will be challenging. More than 60% of the U.S. population was placed under a winter storm advisory last winter, with power outages impacting people up and down the East Coast. We all know what happened to Texas a few winters ago. That bomb cyclone that hit Texas in 2021, it almost completely shut the power grid down for Texas. More than 4.5 million people went without power, some for days. And a deregulated energy market shot up prices for consumers, sparking calls for radical changes. So what if your power goes out? Okay, so this is natural things. This is winter. This is storms. What about man-made events? So we not only have the increased risk already from the natural events, how much does it increase when we add in the man-made events? This war going on. This is Homeland Security, okay? Homeland Security, see that? The United States remains in a heightened threat environment. Lone offenders and small groups motivated by a range of ideological beliefs and personal grievances continue to pose a persistent and lethal threat to the homeland. Both domestic violent extremists and those associated with foreign terrorist organizations continue to attempt to motivate supporters to conduct attacks in the homeland, including through violent extremist messaging, online calls for violence in the coming months. Listen to me. In the coming months, factors that could mobilize individuals to commit violence including their perceptions of the 2024 general election and legislative and judicial decisions pertaining to socio-political issues. Likely targets of potential violence include U.S. critical infrastructure. That's our electric, that's our water, that's our internet, that's our banking systems. Okay? Faith-based institutions. These are your mosques. Okay? These are your non-Christian institutions. Do you understand me? Individual or events associated with the LGBTQIA plus community. Schools, racial and ethnic minorities, and government facilities and personnel, including law enforcement. All right. Now, here's the thing. You heard me read that to you. Is it public? Absolutely. All I had to do to find this was go through 3 different pages of search to get to this information. But it's public. It's free for anybody to know. Is our news saying this? No. Is our state or local governments telling you these things? No. They're not. They just want you to go spend your money. They don't want you to stay home. They want you to go shopping. They want you to go to the restaurants. They want you to go to the movies. They want you out and about. But it's here. It's here. Now this will expire November 24th, and a new one will go up. So evidently they put them, so I will try to remember to come back on November 24th so that we can see what their newest thing is. They're not telling you to be careful. They're not telling you, hey, don't let your kids go somewhere by themselves right now. Just don't. They're not saying, you should maybe take your wife to the store, okay? And women, you know what? Let go with your husband or boyfriend or partner. There's numbers are better. Don't be by yourself. Be aware of your surroundings if you are by yourself. Who's around you? What are they doing? Okay, where's the exits? Where can you hide if you have to? There has been a mass here just in my area, which is Northwest Missouri. So that's Kansas City, Missouri, St. Joseph, Missouri, okay? 2 really large cities in my area, okay? Every day this week there has been a active shooter. Kansas City has had more than 1 mall shooting. St. Joe had a shooting at a med center and a Walmart. Pay attention. Don't walk around. Come on. I said it last week. At this point, you're just fucking being stupid. Okay, it's time to wake up. It's time to grow up. The rose-colored glasses have been great. But it's time to grow up and understand the world we're in now. Now, please do not misunderstand what I'm about to say, because I am no Trump fan. And if that makes you unfollow me, fare thee well. Okay? But I am no fan of any politician. I'm no Biden fan, no Trump fan. I'm no fan of politicians, okay? But Trump has more than once referred to World War III. And USA Today says here is why we need to be worried. Number one, you got to understand we're already at war, okay? To address the rising danger in the world, Americans must address the chaos at home. But we have barely begun to do that. When Trump was in Kissimmee, Florida, he offered the American people what might strike some as a hyperbolic warning. He said, I make you this promise as your president. I will restore peace through strength. And yes, I am the only one that will prevent World War III because we are very close to World War III. We appear to be closer to a world war than we have ever been since the Cold War. And some may argue we're already in one. We're already in one. The danger of global conflagration demands that Americans take toxic polarization far more seriously than we have ever before. What is the reality of the moment we are in? Two analyses must be brought to bear on this question. One is geopolitical and the other is domestic. With respect to our international circumstances, we must understand that the world is already at war. We're already there, counting the wars involving Ukraine and Russia, Israel and Hamas. The Council on Foreign Relations Global Conflict Tracker identifies more than 25 ongoing conflicts, ranging from brutal civil wars in Sudan and Yemen to the tense, dangerous standoff between China and Taiwan. That's just ready to bust any minute. Okay? War is a fact of life in this world, and that it tends not to touch the daily lives of most Americans is a testament to the great safety privilege most of us enjoy living in the United States. That's why there's people that are dearest to my heart. That is why they walk around oblivious, because to this point, we've been kept in a cave. Protected. Okay? In World War I and World War II, major military powers with strong coalitions on both sides engaged in prolonged conflicts that became global in scale, in part because of the existing alliances. In 2023, our geopolitical moment carries echoes of the strategic alliances that helped lead to World War I, as well as the ideological tensions that helped to set off World War II. Broadly speaking, the United States, its NATO allies, and democracies such as Japan, South Korea, and Israel line up on one side of a vast ideological divide. Nearly 2 years. It's been 2 years. After Russia invaded Ukraine, and as fighting still rages, the U.S., our NATO allies, and fierce resistance of millions of Ukrainians have so far successfully stopped the war from spreading. They haven't stopped the war, but they can't gain any ground. Despite initial fears that it would spill into European nations. That fear is still there. It's not gone, but so far, which... Man, them Russians, right? 2 years, and they're still going. Now, however, with the eruption of yet another war, which is the Israel and Hamas, and with the United States moving carrier strike forces and thousands of military personnel to the region in response, the dangers of broader conflict have quickly escalated. It is my opinion, this is my opinion, that China is just sitting there waiting, okay? China is sitting there waiting for us to become fully involved, like we are in Ukraine already, fully involved, and then they're going to make their move. And we will be spread. thinly. And here is the thing. I have personal friends who live across the pond that I speak to on a regular basis. And the fact of the consensus over there, see, here's the thing. The United States has always been this giant superpower when it comes to military. Everybody wants to be friends with the United States because if the shit goes down in my country, the U.S. is going to fly over with all this business and they're going to help me kick some ass. And it's always been that way. Except for now, they're not sure. So if that war, for instance, in the Ukraine spreads into Germany, for instance, Germany's like, can the U.S. help us? Are they going to be able to help us? Because we're already helping Ukraine. How many billions of dollars have we sent to the Ukraine while I just went over our food prices and how much it costs to live in this country? And we didn't even touch on things like daycare rising next year. One lady I saw posted that it's going to cost her family $6,000 a month for daycare. They're going to lose a lot of workers because, you know what, it's better just to stay home and figure out other ways to make money. And I know that. It was that way when I was having kids. Iran's alignment with Russia and China is evident. Okay, you see what's happening. Iran's going to align with Russia and China. This is, they've already aligned because back in March, they staged a joint naval operation in the Gulf of Oman. They've already been practicing. Each of them has geopolitical goals achievable only through aggression. Iran wants to see Israel destroyed, China wishes to take Taiwan, and Russia wants to annex the Ukraine. And it is the United States and its allies that stand in the way of all these objectives. Yet, a distracted, divided, and destabilized United States might not be a reliable force for effective deterrence of diplomacy. And let me tell you something, the European countries, that's their field. I know that we all want to stay positive, and I know that we don't want to walk around in fear. And I'm not telling you to walk around in fear. I don't want you to walk around in fear. But I want you to walk around being knowledgeable. I want you to walk around being in the know. Be aware. Don't be scared. Be prepared. Be aware of what's going on. You know, be aware of the likelihood of things happening. Our everyday lives are going to happen every day. The same way. Every day. Until they're not anymore. So thanks for joining me today. Like I said, don't be scared. Be prepared. You're going to be okay. Everybody's going to be okay. So this week, go out, get your water, grab a few extra things when you go to the grocery store. Can or two of this and that. Put it away. If you're able to budget out, you know, say $100, if you're able, do it. Take that $100, consider it an investment. Go down to the Big Lots or the Overfreight store and spend it all on stuff that you can put away. Okay? Thanks for joining me for your Prepp Talk. Remember, don't be scared, be prepared. Nana Prepp out.